Welcome to the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, where we bring you a weekly dose of powerlifting news, tips, and training advice with a touch of 80s rock ballads. This podcast is presented by Team Roar Powerlifting, your source of the most comprehensive coaching and meet day preparation. Here are your hosts, Josh Rohr and Lara Sturm.
Welcome to the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast. This is episode 31, and I am one of your hosts, Lara Sturm.
And I'm Josh Rohr. Welcome to this week's edition of Awesomeness.
All right, so we're going to do a shout out to our new Instagram followers from this past week. We have Stephen Fortenberry, and we have Jason Bear Bobo.
Quality.
That's
Appreciate you guys following us. So we are going to talk a little bit about nationals. I know this has been a big discussion for a lot of people, basically with how nationals are being run this year. So basically all of the high school and teenage lifters are lifting together at nationals in Aurora, Colorado. All of the junior and collegiate lifters are lifting together in Louisiana. What people are having a fit about right now is open and master nationals and youth nationals and bench press nationals that are all combined in Daytona Beach. So basically, yada, yada, yada. Long story short, how it works is you still have to number one, everybody still has to qualify for the meet. They let qualifying totals go back to 2019 just because there weren't as many meets in 2020. So you can hit the qualifying total anytime from January 1, 2019, all the way up until the registration deadline, right? Now, they also announced that they're capping the meet at 56 lifters per session, which is essentially 2 flights on 2 platforms. So they're running 2 platforms all week. So some of the, there's just, with COVID and all this stuff, there's not enough capacity to handle the mega meets that we normally do. So how they're handling that is inviting people to register in tiers, basically. So the first tier of lifters that got to register, or that were invited to register, first of all, again, had to qualify, had to hit the qualifying total. But basically from February 1st to February 7th, if you place top 5 in the open at Raw Nationals or Open Nationals, or if you place top 3 in the Masters division at Open Nationals or Raw Nationals, and this was for 2019 because that was the last time we had nationals, or for bench nationals, if you were top 3 open or masters at bench nationals, then you got the first invite to register. Again, that was February 1st to 7th. So that's done now at this point. And
so you had to also have hit the qualifying totals.
Correct. Yeah. It's not theoretically anybody that placed that high would have hit the qualifying total. Right. But everything that I'm about to mention, you still had to hit the qualifying total. So I just want to make that clear. And I think that's where some people are getting this misconstrued. So after that first week, which again, we're past that February 7th deadline, the event, it was announced that the event's 1/3 of the way filled up after that first tier. Okay. Mm-hmm. So now we move into the second tier, which is February 8th to February 14th. These next group of lifters get to register before it opens to everybody. Again, all of these lifters have to have a qualifying total still. And how it works now is anybody that was ranked in the top 3 in their weight class in the hometown showdown, which was basically the 2020 ranking system that was put together because there was no nationals. So if you were top 3 in your weight class, then you get to, register February 8th to 14th. There was an email that came out from the national office on February 1st that also is now including essentially the same ranking system for all of 2019. And it also includes anybody that is a lifetime member. So the lifetime membership is where people are getting a little butthurt. Okay. But just to put this in perspective, so most of the lifters that placed at nationals in that tier 1 are most likely also, many of them at least, are probably the same lifters that are in the 2019 rankings. So there's probably not going to be a whole lot of people take a lot of spots in that tier 2 is my theory. Again, I don't actually know, but that's my guess. So basically what this is doing is allowing all of the very, very, very elite lifters to register first, right?
Mhm.
It's not saying that we're only taking the elite lifters. It's not saying that everybody else can't get in. That's not how it's working. Everybody that's qualified, again, is qualified. This is just letting those very, very top tier people register first to get into the meet. With the idea that that's the only avenue to get to IPF Worlds. And this being a World Games year, the IPF Worlds and the NAPF meet are the only avenue to get to the World Games. So it's allowing those lifters that are at that very, very upper echelon competitiveness wise to register first. Now, with the lifetime membership, again, I think where people are getting this a little bit mixed up is just because you buy a lifetime membership that doesn't get you into nationals, you still have to qualify. Everybody that hits the qualifying total is qualified to compete. So yes, somebody's going to get left out because it's going to be an open registration system, and whoever gets in first gets in first. But this is basically just, a little thank you to people that are lifetime members to be able to register a little bit before it opens to the general public. So, I've been seeing a lot of posts around that people are just buying their way into nationals. Well, I guess you can argue that, but they still had to qualify. It's not like, I can pick up little Timmy on the corner that's, walking down the street and say, hey, buy this membership and you can compete at nationals if he's never lifted before. You still have to qualify. So I'm getting a little bit pissed, I guess, just at seeing some of the stuff on social media, because again, everybody that if we didn't think that everybody that qualifies is good enough to lift at nationals, then we would raise the qualifying totals even higher than they are, right? Everybody that qualifies is qualified. They're a national caliber lifter. So just letting lifetime members register a little bit earlier, they are still qualified to compete. That's where people can't get
Right.
There's not understanding, I guess.
Well, it's probably the idea that some people, the meat is going to get cut off at some point, and that are probably going to be some people that want to compete at nationals that can't because
Correct.
they don't get to register soon enough.
Right.
So this just gives the lifetime members a privilege. Membership passes privileges, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Of being able to register a little bit earlier. So after February 14th, what happens?
So after February 14th, the next tier of registration starts on March 1st. And basically at that point, each session will be capped at 56 again. So if your weight class and division lifts in session 7, I'm just making this up, once that hits 56, the registration closes. So I think for a lot of lifters that are on, I think, don't quote me on this, but I want to say the 69 kilo weight class is one day and the next day is 76. So I kind of have a feeling like people may, if one of those sessions fills up, they may just switch days and go 69 instead of 76 or something like that. I don't know if they're qualified. I have no idea, but basically each session is going to have its own cap and its own entry form. So when that session's full, that's it.
So how many sessions total is there? I'm trying to do the math at how many lifters we're talking about.
There's a bunch. So lifting starts on Tuesday, or does it start on Monday? Starts on Tuesday, I believe. Yeah, it starts on Tuesday and it ends on Saturday, and there's 3 sessions each day. So it's a lot because they got bench nationals mixed in there too. So a lot of the third sessions are a flight of bench, or I'm sorry, a session of bench only.
So it looks like we're still talking about 840 lifters.
Yeah, it's still going to be huge.
Still a huge meet.
Yeah, it's still a huge meet. And again, instead of it being separated out to multiple events, it's kind of, in a lot of ways, it is combined, just to prevent having to travel so often for a lot of people. I mean, referees and stuff like that. But just to kind of make it, again, we're still in the middle of COVID. Like there's still issues with
There's still that.
with traveling. So
well, and with volunteers, I would think too. Like I wouldn't think that you'd get half the amount of volunteers right now.
yeah, I mean, and for me, I'm not getting on a plane. So
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm driving. Luckily for me, I'm fairly close, but if I had to go to three separate nationals, I mean, that's three. For me, that would be 3 road trips if I end up going to all 3.
Right. So kind of capitalizing on the same volunteer base at the same time, and
Yeah,
the same venue.
yeah, and the other thing too, a lot of lifters are also referees, so they're already there, so that prevents referees that have to travel just for refereeing. So I don't know. To me, it makes sense, like the whole setup. I'm sorry, some people are upset by it, but this was it was discussed and well thought out, I think, and I'm sorry that people are upset by it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe it goes back to a little bit of kind of the culture of today, where there's a lot of privilege, I guess might be the word.
Yeah, and
That
I think that's part of it. And one of the things that I seen kind of posted around social media is that it should all be merit based and just based off of rankings. And I to a degree I agree with that. But here's the issue: like since 2019, we've had qualifying totals. So now people that have hit those qualifying totals, we all of a sudden are going to say, hey, you know what, we're not. We're cutting it off here. We're not taking you. You can't get in, even though, we said that if you hit the qualifying total, you're qualified. Well, we're going back on that. So I don't feel like that would be the right thing to do, because people have qualified. That's the whole point. Like, so yes, it's somewhat of a lottery system. Whoever can register first by the end is going to get in. But I don't see how it's fair to say, well, we're taking the top 10. Lara, you qualified, but you were number 11. So I'm sorry, you don't get to lift this year. I mean, I don't see how that's fair either.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I mean, it's, I know it's a sport a lot of people put their time and effort and money and their heart and soul into. So I understand when they feel like they aren't allowed to, that somebody else is allowed to because they paid more money, that would, make them get butthurt. But the same thing goes back to, you still had to qualify. And this is
right.
This is just an earlier invitation.
Right.
Than anything. So,
yeah.
And are there as many people competing right now because of COVID as normal? I mean, I guess that's the thing that is kind of the unknown. Like,
yeah, I don't think so. I mean, but I don't know, because I mean, I haven't really gone anywhere. So
Josh has not left his basement.
Yeah.
Weeks.
Yeah. It's been more than weeks. We're closing in on a year.
That you haven't left your basement?
No, I've left the basement. I've gone upstairs, taking a shower. Oh, speaking of shower, so I was supposed to take an ice shower before
before we
or not an ice shower, a cold shower before.
Cold shower.
So Don, if you're listening, I'm sorry I forgot.
Did you really forget while you were in the shower? Did you really?
I forgot.
Like, oh man, this is uncomfortable. I don't want to really do this.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't forget, but I chickened out. But I still okay. I will make this commitment, which I made last week, but I'm going to extend the commitment. I will do it before next week's episode.
I have a temperature gauge. I was actually going to measure how cold the shower is, because right now, with how cold it is, or how it's been in Georgia, today was actually a little bit nicer. That shower is so cold right now, man. When you have it bumped all the way down to cold, I hate to tell you, it's really cold right now. So I was going to measure, see how cold it was. So I have actually a little temperature gun, because of course it's one of Dan's many tools that he has. So I'll let you know how cold.
The man has a lot of tools.
He has a lot of tools. I had a contractor come over the other day, look at some repairs, and they're like, wow, you're somebody who has more tools than me. Yep.
Nice.
That's what we've got. He was Ace Hardware's #1 customer of the year, I think 2 years in a row. No shit.
Badge of honor.
Yeah, I guess. All right, so back to powerlifting. Good stuff. Let's do a new lifter tip.
Cool.
So our tip of the week, or actually our tip from 1:30, we're a little bit behind on our lifter tips.
We got 2 of them today.
Take care of your body. Wow, that seems like Captain Obvious and all, but really you only get one. And if you're injured, forcing yourself to compete anyway is a good way to shorten your lifting career. And if you truly love competing, go for longevity. Don't go for hurting yourself and sacrificing that.
I agree.
Well, you wrote it, so
Yeah, I know.
probably not to.
So the reason this came up is I see people kind of posting on social media all the time, like, you know, I got, you know, my meet in 4 weeks, you know, my hips kind of jacked up, but you know, it's all or nothing. This is the meet. And I think there's a very select few meets that I would kind of put in that basket is like, it's worth going all in on. You know, the local meet, you know, I would say hell, even nationals. I mean, unless it's like a world games year or, you know, you're trying to make the, you know, IPF worlds and you have a realistic shot. Okay. I can say that would, you know, that's probably one of those that I would put in that category, but any other meet, all you're probably going to do is hurt yourself or make something worse where it's going to be a nagging injury down the road. So at that, I mean, for most situations, I'd say just, you know, shut it down and don't do the meet. But
Yeah, I would agree.
Everybody just, I can't remember who said this, but everybody thinks like their next meet is the biggest meet of their life. And
They always are.
And
the
whole rest of their life is going to depend on how that goes. And I think that's kind of short-sighted.
Kind of. So there's another new lifter tip. Do you want me to read that one?
Sure.
You want that one? All right. Your second attempt bench of 182.5 kilos was hard. Yeah, I wish my bench was that big. You think you only have about 2.5 kilos left. What kind of jump do you make?
Got it. So I just realized that I didn't finish writing this outline. That's actually our powerlifting. That's actually our powerlifting situation from this week. And that situation actually came from Mark at Texas Barbell Syndicate. He had me on his podcast on Sunday, and he brought this up, and we had a pretty good discussion about it. So his take was, if 182.5 was hard, his thing was anything over 175. If the second attempt is hard and you think you only have 2.5 kilos left, it's not worth taking a 2.5 kilo jump, because your back, you know, the toll it might take on your back and how that might affect your deadlift isn't worth it. And I told him no matter what his stance was, I was going to argue the opposite side. So for me, I would, in most situations, take the 2.5 kilo jump. I know that's such a small jump, and I hate making 2.5 kilo jumps when the weight is that big, because percentage wise it's so low. But you know, unless it's somebody that I know may have a back issue or they have other issues like the shoulders bothering them or something like that, I won't. But most times I will, and then, you know, pull what we need, because at the end of the day, 2.5 kilos on your total is still 2.5 kilos on your total.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that, unless you have an injury or there's a reason not to.
Yeah. And you know, just
worst thing is you don't get the lift.
Right. Yeah. And Mark's argument was, you know, people that have really big arches and things like that, sometimes their back will cramp, and, you know, if that causes you, so I do agree with him. If you know that straining on another attempt is going to potentially take 10 kilos off of your bench, or take 10 kilos off of your deadlift, then yeah, it's not worth it. It's so right. We're both,
you have to know thyself, I guess.
Yeah.
I'll bet.
True.
All right. We'll move into our powerlifting situation of the week.
Well, we just read it.
This,
That was last week's. So
no, sorry.
that's all
Well,
right.
there you go. We just did the powerlifting situation. We're so far ahead. We're that progressive.
Yep. So that's what we get for trying to be organized and write stuff out. We leave notes in there from weeks ago. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Let's not say we.
Fair. That's fair.
There you go.
That was me.
I just show up.
I don't even know where my phone's at. I can actually look at the new most recent one.
Oh, we're going live right here.
Okay, yeah, here it is.
All right, here's the powerlifting situation.
Well, this is our new lifter tip, the second one that I was
okay.
trying to announce. So don't try to imitate the technique of another lifter just because they are successful. The technique that works best for them may not be the most efficient technique for you. Train what's best for you. The reason I put that on there, you're actually kind of an example of that. Because I see a lot of people that, train with a certain lifter that does things one way, or even a coach that just has their way of doing things, I guess. And every single lifter looks exactly the same technique wise. And while it might not be bad technique, it might be really great technique, it might not be the most efficient for that lifter. And I mentioned you, for example, like theoretically, you should squat more low bar, right? I mean, just on paper, but you never were able to. So you squatted high bar. So, to say, hey, Wade Hooper squats low bar and, squatted a world record, like you should too. Well, try it, but maybe that's not the exact answer for you.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to kind of find what feels right for you and where you can maximize. And,
yep.
There's been things I've played with over the time and I'm like, I should maybe go with a wider stance. It should be, doesn't mean it is.
Yeah. And it'll evolve over time too.
Right.
It's getting locked into one certain thing because of something that works for somebody else doesn't seem to be as thought out as you want to be when you're deciding those things, I guess.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we can't all be from the textbook lifters theoretically with lever arms and all that.
Just read the chart. Just read the chart and it'll tell you how to do your technique. It doesn't.
One of my motivating moments in powerlifting was going to a Mark Ripito class, and him basically saying that I wouldn't really ever be a competitive powerlifter. So, that was motivating.
Yeah, I had a that pisses me off.
Yeah, a little bit.
I had it was a sports, what's it called? The doctor, sports medicine doctor I went to, like when I first kind of injured my back. And basically, I have some sort of abnormality on the way my vertebrae is. I can't remember, tropism, I think it's called. I can't remember exactly what that means, but basically something with the joint, the facet joint or something, it's a little bit structured differently. Well, anyway, they did x-rays, all this stuff. And they basically said, well, structurally, like you're just physically not capable of deadlifting like anything over like 400 pounds. And I'm like, you do realize like 3 weeks ago, I pulled mid 600s at a competition, right? Well, that doesn't seem right. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Iron, it doesn't lie. That's the beauty of it. That's funny.
So, and the guy wouldn't let it go either. He's like, well, I'm just telling you, like, you definitely shouldn't try that again, because that was just kind of lucky that you were able to do that. Like, it wasn't luck. Like, what are you talking about? Like, who are you?
Well, to pull in the mid sixes, you would have had to at least pull over 400 lots of times.
Right. Exactly. And I have multiple times since. Like, it's just, I don't understand I literally told you like it's physically possible and you double down on no, it's not. I'm like, what? I don't understand.
Functional fixedness is a term where you're just so fixated on how this one thing should be. I'm sorry, that's how it is. And it's limiting beliefs too.
Yeah. So
right? Like,
so
what if you walked around saying, I can't do that?
yeah, well, apparently I can't pull over 4 and you will never do anything in powerlifting. So
No,
guess we should
well.
just go home.
Give it up. Oh, that's okay.
4 world titles later, you should send a letter. Send a certified letter so you know that it gets read.
In your face, Mark Rippetoe.
Yeah, it's
There
funny.
you go. All right, so we have kind of skipped around and not gone over any meat songs and kind of missed out on the power ballad part
Oh,
for
yeah.
the last couple of weeks, just because we've been off topic interviewing you and doing the Wim Hof show. So your meat songs, we're up to Deadlift 1.
Oh, it's getting real now. Once the deadlift rolls around, it gets serious. So
I'm sorry if you can hear that noise.
I've been hearing all
What's
kinds of noises in the background over there.
This is called My House. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, my 2 songs for deadlift are Red Rider, Lunatic Fringe. Are you familiar with that one?
I am.
I assumed
from the soundtrack of Vision Quest, a amazing 80s movie.
that I don't know. I've never seen Vision Quest.
Wow, it's a great soundtrack. You have to look that up.
I will have to look that up. The
Pretty sure it's
other,
on there.
yeah, I'll look it up and it's not there. The other one is this is probably one of my go-to songs in general, and Gino likes to make fun of me about it, but Billie Jean by Michael Jackson.
Gino likes to make fun of you about it.
Yeah, he's like, well, the first time he heard it play, so I want to say it was the Meet Tay ran the Savage Open a couple years ago. I was actually lifting and Gino was there announcing, and Tay turned this song on because she knew I liked it, and Gino's like, don't play this, like
Not a lifting song.
You're gonna mess him up. But
And no, it was the opposite. That's funny.
it was the opposite, yeah. And then ever since then, every time we talk about music or anything, he's like, Billie Jean is not my girl. I'm like, that's not even the lyrics, Gino.
Get it straight.
Yeah. So
Wow. Well, there you go. I mean, yeah, there are 2 songs that probably wouldn't be my go-to for like, okay, I have to start lifting something heavy. But yeah.
yeah.
What I'm surprised I haven't seen on your list at all is anything from Billy Ocean.
You know, I thought about that. I have a couple Billy Ocean songs that are definitely go-to, but I kind of also feel like most people that know me by now know that those are my go-to songs. So like to put them on this is kind of the secretive list that I'm revealing here.
Oh,
The
okay.
Billy Ocean is, I mean, that's just, I mean, I feel like everybody probably at least has an inkling of awareness that I really like Billy Ocean.
Is they missed it? I don't know how. That's what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Correct.
All right. So we're back on our regular schedule.
We are.
And,
We are Tuesdays at 5:30 Eastern, and don't forget that we are live streaming. So shout out to everybody that's watching the live stream right now. We're live streaming on Instagram at PL Ballads Podcast. And don't forget, if you guys have any topics or questions you want to shoot our way, we are on Instagram, and you can email us at plballadspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll catch you next time.
Bye now.
Bye now.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode of the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, please remember to subscribe and share it with your friends.